For Creamer Media's Polity, I'm Thabi Madiba, researcher and analyst. Professor Raymond Suttner joins me to discuss the democratic project in trouble. How does it get remedied?
Hello.
Welcome, Professor. The ANC in almost all the provinces is divided. So what can Cyril Ramaphosa do to make things right amongst the ANC?
It's very hard to see what can be done in the ANC alone. A lot of what has been done at the top. And the ANC really needs to be, if it is to be an agent for unifying people, it needs to have values, ideas, principles, and you need to diffuse these through the branches, through the regions, through the provinces. And my impression is that the success that Cyril Ramaphosa has had up to now has been at a public relations level. You go on a walk down to the beachfront in Sea Point, you do various things to regularize the state-owned enterprises. Now, that's not just public relations, but that's not ANC, that is the state. And everyone welcomes that he's cleaning up, trying to clean up the state. But to clean up the ANC means that you've got to be involved in organization. Now, he's got a very trusted person, Sento Mchunu, as head of organizing in Luthuli House. But to what extent does Mchunu depend on people in the provinces who are compromised? For example, in KZN, the structure in charge with readying the province for the election is primarily composed of the faction who were in the provincial executive committee that the High Court declared illegally constituted. So he's got this problem, and I think it's a long time since Cyril Ramaphosa was Secretary General of the ANC. It's it's over 20 years, I think, since he resigned from that position. And it seems to me that he really needs to, if you're talking about the ANC, he needs to rebuild the ANC. But what I was trying to say, we can't really rely on the ANC alone in terms of recovering our democratic life, recovering constitutionalism, all of these things. But for a person who leads an organization, attending to that organization at every level becomes very, very important. I'm not saying he does nothing. All I'm saying is that's where he needs to focus as well. But the guy is busy, obviously.
And as we have seen, there has been some actions taken against the Guptas and their associates. So do we believe that Ramaphosa can lead the country to the required destination?
You see, what's interesting here is you have two capacities. He leads the ANC and he leads the country. Even before he was elected president of the country, it seemed that he was able to exercise sufficient influence. I think the Vrede dairy farm was raided even before he was president of the country. So he's trying to do whatever he can in terms of cleaning up the country. However, he's constrained in that a lot of the evidence points towards some of the top officials, so that if he tries to unleash law enforcement agencies against them, will the unity, the very slender unity that led to his election, come undone? We don't know. And so this is what I was trying to point to, is that Cyril Ramaphosa has not been able to get rid of Mahuma Philo, and it seems to me that it should have been possible in the normal course of events, and he's constrained, I think, by his ANC base being unsettled, unstable, divided, things like this. And a lot of the people there were not supporters of Ramaphosa.
And regarding the Mahumapelo issue, he was told last week to step down by the ANC top brass. So even today, he's still holding on to office. So can we say the Ramaphosa-led ANC is doing enough about the issue?
Well, it's not clear that they did tell him to step down. That's what the reports say. We don't know. You know, it's every time you get a report like that, then Jesse Duarte or someone else says, no, that's not what happened. That hasn't been decided. So you don't know that there's actually been defiance. There's been quiet talks, and it may be that in those talks he has had allies, because if he were isolated, he wouldn't really be able to stand up to the rest of the leadership. And so I don't know. I think there's an ANC press conference today as well, and they were supposed to have called a National Executive Committee for today to try to get rid of him, and that hasn't happened. It seemed ambiguous what happened yesterday when on the television I saw Mahumapelo not commenting, so that clearly he is under pressure. But the pressure is not so great that he has no one backing him. So I don't know.
And regardless of residents calling him to step down, today he's expected to deliver their budget vote speech. So what can we expect from residents?
Yes, you see, I thought they would try to get rid of him before that budget speech, or its State of the Nation, whatever speech it is. And clearly this illustrates again that the power of the president is constrained. He would obviously like to have Team Ramaphosa, which is cleared of all allegations of fraud and all of that, but he's not able to get rid of these people. It's not just Mahumapelo, there are others as well, and they are still there. Some of them in high ANC positions, some of them are in high government positions. And what I said in my article is that we, the public, ought not to be held to ransom by ANC divisions and paralysis. We really need the power that was harnessed last year against Zuma needs to be harnessed to strengthen the hands of those who want to clean up the country, who want to see constitutionalism and clean government. And I would myself, if I were Ramaphosa, in addition to looking at organization, I would also encourage that sort of thing.
Even though he was told by the residents to step down, he doesn't want to. So won't this have an impact on the elections?
Yes, you see, the reports that I've seen seem to suggest that already they did only get 53% or something in the last national elections, if I remember correctly. And I mean, when Popo Molefe and people like that were premier, they had 70 to 80% of the vote. So the ANC has lost a lot of votes there, and it's now suggested by polls. But you know, I'm not a person who relies 100% on polls, but the polls are an important indication of people's thinking at a particular moment. But they are put off the ANC by this type of leader, as they were by Zuma in the local government, even though he wasn't standing there. So I think it will affect the ANC negatively, and it means that there's a possibility of them losing Northwest.
And lastly, it has been 24 years into democracy, but then we still find people burning tires and blocking roads, demanding proper houses from the government. And on the other hand, we have government appointees that are enriching themselves but are failing the voters. So what can the Ramaphosa-led government do to remedy this?
Yes, you see, is not the fact that people have not got decent houses, have not got decent schools, have not got roads in wherever they say, have not got decent health care. There is some destruction, but in the larger scheme of things, much more could have been provided had there not been the graft, corruption, illegality, in some cases also lack of capacity. And I think while it is important that we don't look to government to do everything for us as citizens, there are some things that constitutionally the state is obliged to provide, and they fail to do this, sometimes for not because of corruption, but in many cases because of corruption. In the case of Nkandla alone, a lot of the irregular expenditure was meant for poverty relief. So it is something very shameful that people's lives have not changed more. In 2004, 10 years after democratic South Africa, when I was being interviewed, I was always saying that things have changed utterly for very many people, but unevenly. In some cases, people have got water who never had it before. Now, some of that water has become polluted. Some of those water schemes are not functioning anymore. Now, water is just one, it's not just water to drink. It affects health. You don't get diseases, you can wash. It also affects gender questions, because when you have water in a tap, the people who used to go and fetch the water were primarily women. They were free to do other things, and some of these people became councillors and other things. Now that momentum has slowed down, and in some cases it's been set back substantially, and it's shameful.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Creamer Media's Polity about the democratic project in trouble. How does it get remedied?